From Capital Public Radio in Sacramento, this is Insight. I'm Jeffrey Callison. Later in the program, stand-up comedian Keith Lowell Jensen and his new live CD, Cats Made of Rabbits. You're listening to Insight from Capital Public Radio. I'm Jeffrey Callison. Go to our webpage. It's capradio.org/insight. There's lots there. Information about our show, our topics, our guests, also links to follow our show on Facebook and me on Twitter. It's capradio.org/insight. This morning on Talk the Nation Science Friday, topics include the genetics of Alzheimer's, also celebrating the 50th anniversary of one of the most notable feats in human history. On April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was the first person to go into space. And can science inspire great art? Can art inspire great science? Guests include film director Werner Herzog. That's Talk the Nation Science Friday, right after Insight at 11.
I want you guys to give a loud comedy style welcome to Keith Lowell Jensen.
That's the start of Cats Made of Rabbits, a new live CD and DVD by Sacramento stand-up comic Keith Lowell Jensen. He's in our studio. Keith, welcome back to Insight.
Oh, thanks. And thanks for playing all that heady, brainy stuff before you introduced me. It's like...
Yeah. Who was that introducing you? I love the way he does this sort of Oprah Winfrey style. Jensen!
I'm going to tell him that you compared him to Oprah Winfrey. That's Chaz Hawkins. And so now you're saying not only do all black people look alike, but they all sound alike.
I did not
way to start
say
it with
that.
The racism, Jeffrey.
I didn't even know anything
deep.
about this. Seriously, though, where was that recorded and when?
At the Sacramento Comedy Spot in June of last year. And the idea was to put out an album a year. That's the goal we've been working on. But
you didn't make that because your previous album, To the Moon, came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, the reason we didn't make that is I always pride myself on being an independent artist, and I was trying really hard not to be. So for 7 months, I had a label that had me sort of on the hook considering it. And I'm just totally flattered that they took 7 months to say no.
So you had an actual label saying, Keith Lowell Jensen, we're in talks with your peeps?
Yes. I went and met with them in New York, and they came and saw me live, and they're really excited about working with me, and they claim still to be excited about working with me. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to get this album out because I already had to cut one joke from it because it expired.
Why? Because it was political?
No, I wish it was something that brainy. No, it had a Jonas Brothers reference. Nobody remembers the Jonas Brothers. That's the nice thing about politics being so stagnant right now. You can keep talking about healthcare for a long time, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, fame can be fleeting for the famous, but when you're less famous, I guess it's less fleeting.
Is that true?
Yeah. Well, we would know.
Yes, we would.
Now, speaking of this label that you were in talks with, that decision influenced the label, or the cover rather, of your CD, didn't it?
That was my consolation prize. I found this really great, disturbing piece of artwork by a local artist, and the label wanted nothing to do with it. I mean, they were that much, they were that heavily interested in it that they even had me submit some covers, and so we submitted two that had a nice photo of me. And then we submitted that one, which is my favorite.
The disturbing one being a picture of what appear to be naked women from the waist up, but their heads are the heads of rabbits, and they're applying mascara and makeup to themselves.
Yes.
It's an odd picture.
It's a very strange picture, and it catches attention, and I feel like it sort of catches the same kind of sense of humor that I have on the album, which is this innocent and dark kind of all at the same time. So I really like it. And so that's my consolation prize. I don't get to sell out and be on a major label, but I do get to have, a cat painting that I wouldn't have otherwise had.
My guest is the stand-up comedian Keith Lowell Jensen. His new CD, DVD, is out. It was recorded live on stage in Sacramento, and it's called Cats Made of Rabbits. Well, you talked about your humor, which sometimes is on the darker side. Let's listen to an excerpt of that. This is where you are. Well, you start off talking about people who come to the door, knocking on the door, religious type people, and you decide to give one of them, or someone who you think is a religious person, a shock by answering the door naked.
Buck naked, I answer the door. Hello, how you doing? Oh, beautiful day today, isn't it? The guy's kind of freaked out. He backs up, and I'm right on him. I'm like, whoa, wait. He came to my door for a reason. He's working really hard to maintain eye contact, I'm like, come on, give it to me. And finally, after a few awkward moments, he says, hello, I'm here today to let you know that I'm your new next door neighbor. And I'm required by law to let you know that I moved into the neighborhood. Really? Interesting. Kind of hard to make small talk at that point, isn't it? Megan's Law, huh? I've heard of it. What they get you for? Oh, voyeurism. Excellent. Why don't we just call this a freebie then, shall we?
That is so funny. I wish I didn't have this image in my mind.
Yeah, thank you. You're saying I wouldn't be someone you'd want to see answer the door naked? That's what I say earlier in the joke, is I say that answering the door naked may not work for some people. You just end up with a doormat full of gawkers. I word it differently, but then again, we're on the radio right now.
Now, that was inspired by, the way that some religious groups go around knocking on people's doors, and you've been doing religious-inspired humor as at least part of your act for some time because of another thing that you're involved in.
The Coexist Comedy Tour, it started me as sort of the Atheist comedian, which is a brand that I haven't discouraged. I'm totally stoked with it, but it backfires on you sometimes. I've had gigs where people are like, well, we booked you, but then we found you on the internet, and I'm not sure that this will go over in our little town. And I'm like, well, I don't have to talk about that, But the truth is, I like that joke in particular about the people knocking on your door, because even people that are religious themselves don't necessarily want to be associated with the fanatics and are also annoyed by them. And so it actually bridges, it's something we have in common. Like, you don't like people knocking on your door? Us either. And then we laugh, at the expense of the door knockers, who then I can also relate to the door knockers. And I appreciate their passion. If you are religious, it's what you're supposed to do. So it divides less than you would think. And I've performed this in places like Winnemucca, Nevada, and it's done fine, and they have a good laugh. And the one time it backfired me, I was in where was I? I was in Dixon, and apparently they don't have door knockers in Dixon.
Oh, yeah?
That's what the audience told me. And I said, well, how is that? And one voice from a guy sitting at the bar who I didn't think was listening to me said, "This is Dixon. We got guns." I was like, okay, very good. So I moved on.
Yeah, I guess that could be a good, that could be a pretty compelling reason not to knock on people's doors in an unsolicited way. Why is your record called Cats Made of Rabbits?
Well, I have no idea what clips you're playing, but it's the last track on the album.
Yeah, we're not playing that one.
Okay, good. It's me talking about when I'm driving in between actual places. Most of the country is not actual places. It's the place in between actual places. And when I'm in those places and I stop at a truck stop for a sandwich, maybe a religious self-help book, they have these cats. They look like taxidermied cats. They're super realistic little kittens, and they're actually made of rabbits. And I just I just go on and on about what a bizarre thing that is. I mean, if they were...
Well, I'm glad they're not made of cats.
Exactly, but why? Why are we... Like, bunnies are cute, too. Or like, what if they were just taxidermied bunnies? Like, would taxidermied bunnies be acceptable to sell at a truck stop? Would we be okay with that? I've never seen taxidermy for sale at a truck stop unless it's an animal made into another animal, which should be more disturbing, not less. That's like...
That's an excellent point. My guest is Keith Lowell Jensen. His new CD is called Cats Made of Rabbits, as we've just been discussing. It was recorded live on stage in Sacramento. Another thing that you talk about in your routine is a very significant event that happened in your life not too long ago, and that was when you became a father.
Yeah, almost 18 months ago.
Yeah. Does your wife? What does your wife think about you using that as part of your act?
I have never, ever done comedy at my wife's expense. A lot of comedians go on stage and it's the ball and chain, or the Woody Allen's The Dread Mrs. Allen, which she actually sued him over. I love my wife very much. I love my baby very much. And so even though I might share stuff that might be a little embarrassing or a little private, she's a very private person. She's very, especially she sees a lot of my friends perform. She's very appreciative of how generously I speak of her and of my baby and of fatherhood. And it's positive while it's embarrassing. So she figures it's all right.
Well, let's listen to one of your jokes about your own experience of childbirth.
Isn't that funny the way guys get credit for that one? We didn't do shit, you know? My wife went through 36 hours of labor. 36 hours of labor to have this kid. And the hardest part for me was staying awake for that long. She ended up having to get an epidural, and I got a mocha. Push, honey. This is fun. He asked me how childbirth was. I can answer honestly. Delicious and chocolatey.
That is so funny. So yeah, your answer to the situation of how to handle your wife's desire for privacy is to make fun of yourself in the whole process.
There's that too, yeah. I mean, if anyone's the butt of the joke, it's going to be me. It's not going to be my wife or my baby, you know.
Why would a very private person marry a stand-up comedian?
She is so funny. And I so often am saying things on stage that she thought of. She's actually written a lot of jokes for me. I think that a private person enjoys seeing someone do, you know, the whole opposites attract thing. I mean, me and my wife are a lot alike in a lot of ways, but I think she really enjoys seeing me be able to be so public and you know, go up in front of people. And I think she really enjoys seeing me repeat something that she said to me. And when it gets a big laugh, she's proud as well as me, you know.
Let's listen to one more clip from Keith's CD, Cats Made of Rabbits. This starts out as another bit of humor relating to your fatherhood, but then there's a twist added.
What's fun after you have the kid, though, is getting to insist that everyone else make the whole world child-friendly on your behalf. I love that. I just lie in wait as other comedians come off stage. Hey, I really didn't appreciate that pedophile joke. I'm a father. Yeah, that's fun. I worked so much better than my old line, which was, hey, I really didn't appreciate that pedophile joke. I'm a pedophile.
And then you go on to say, speaking of pedophiles, I'm an uncle too.
Right. Just that whole stereotype. It's so funny that you played that one after asking me what my wife thinks, because she hates that joke. That's like her. She wishes I wouldn't tell it, but it's not about her, so she can't really pull the whole putting her foot down on me. So.
Keith, it's a really funny record, but I just want to make sure we have time to ask about something that about you that's been sort of, I wouldn't say in the news, but it's been public, and that is a feud that you've gotten into with the host of an afternoon show on another radio station, Don Geronimo of 1140. What happened?
It blew up so quickly. He came and saw a show that I did in Galt. And he went there to make fun of it. It's in Galt, let's go to the small town and make fun of the comedy show. It was an awesome show. If anyone from Galt is listening, I love you, Galt. We had so much fun, and it went really well. And then to get on Monday and hear him bagging on the show, so I just tweeted, how can I be made fun of by such a hack? Because I just don't like talk radio. I never have. And by talk radio, I obviously don't mean NPR. I mean... Well, now I don't want to name names and start more feuds, but you know who I mean. Don Geronimo's genre. It doesn't appeal to me. Well, then a little Twitter war started, and he feuds all the time. That's his thing. So I thought, cool, this will be fun. And I just tried to be sharp and respond as best I could. He was serious. I ran into him in person, and he was upset. His wife told him to just walk away from me. I was like, just walk away, as opposed to what? Hit me? It was really a scary. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this, and I let it go. But his fans...
And he's got a lot of fans in Sacramento, but he's also
but the ones
known
that
elsewhere.
replied to me weren't mighty in number.
Really?
They were mighty in volume.
Yes.
Because I made it so you couldn't post anonymously to my blog. So it came down to just 3 or 4 guys over and over and over and over again. And I even pulled a trick and responded. There were 2 that I suspected were the same person. So I responded to one by the other's name, and he replied without even noticing. So I was like,
And has it been resolved?
The resolution is that I stopped fighting. It's kind of hard to fight by yourself.
Yes.
So he seems to have let it go as well.
Yes.
You
But
know.
you April fooled me on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Because on April 1st, you said that you'd resolved it with him. And I went, oh, isn't that cool?
I was so worried about inflaming the whole thing by doing that, but
Yeah.
I couldn't resist it. Like, I couldn't resist a good April Fool's joke. And so I posted.
Well, now I'm going to get into feud with you.
Right. I posted that I was going to be on his show on April 1st, and a lot of people fell for it. Like, do you not own calendars? How did you fall for that one, Jeffrey?
I don't know. I was so looking out for things. I trust you too much, Keith.
I look forward to exploiting that again sometime.
Yes. Cats Made of Rabbits. It's the new CD, DVD, recorded live on stage in Sacramento by stand-up comedian Keith Lowell Jensen. Keith, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
You're listening to Insight. When we come back, soprano Rebecca Plack and her concert this weekend of Jewish music.